Supercar Street Challenge is a racing game that was published by Activision for the PlayStation 2 in 2001, and this game focuses on racing with high-end exotic sports cars that reflect various different popular models from that time. Many of the cars in the game all are based off of real life models but don't always have the exact names associated with them, but there are a few that do stand out. You have various brands with Pontiac, Lotus and the Pagani Zonda, even the Celine S7 as a selection of some of the vehicles that you can race as, where you race around different types of environments and city streets to win and unlock other vehicles that you can play as in the game. The one thing to note about this game is that while the emphasis is on supercar racing, it is a difficult game to master. But one of its best features is the fact that you can customise and build your own supercar or race car with access to a load of different customisable parts and features that you can use to really build a car to your own style and preference. But if you don't want to do that, you can access the other cars that are available within the game. So you will be tasked with progressing through a variety of different modes and championships, each with their own difficulty levels, where you start off at a basic level and you gradually go through different tiers, and each tier becomes subsequently more difficult the further into the game that you get, to a point that it can get very, very difficult. The one thing to note with this game is that the computer AI is relentless. There's no room for error as such in this game because you're travelling at such high speeds and you do have to learn the course layouts, but the handling physics of the vehicles, while they're okay in most regards, they can be quite twitchy and cumbersome, which can definitely be the difference between you being successful or failing. And in many cases, especially later on in the game, that will happen a lot, because as soon as you make a mistake, no matter how well of a race or how good you are doing in a race, make no mistake, you will end up being passed out, and it will be very, very hard, if not impossible, to catch up. In some cases you can on earlier tracks, but on later tracks, because the diversity of the layouts and some of the environmental hazards that will get in your way, there's a very good chance that you will crash a lot. And the second you make a mistake, literally within 1 to 2 seconds, the cars are just straight away zipping past you with no means of catching up to them at all. This game requires a lot of patience, dedication and skill in order to win races, and even at that, many times it is down to sheer luck to understand whether you will win races or not. These gameplay elements are also very reflective of the reviews that the game has gotten on various different magazines and website blog reviews and so forth over the years, stating that the game is extremely challenging, and in many cases for some players it can be almost considered as unplayable, which I know is a long shot, but it is a difficult game. I haven't spent time playing it myself. Now I will admit it is tough to get into at first, but I found the more I got into it, I started to really enjoy it for what it was doing, and I was starting to unlock stuff. But then I got to a certain point within some of the races that you'd have to keep trying it over and over again, and it was really just down to luck, to a point that one of the tracks in particular, I don't know how many times I tried it and I just still can't get past it at all. So that's the downside of this game, is you will get to a point where it will become so unrealistic and so frustrating that it will leave you totally struggling to get past certain elements of the game, and that can also hinder your progress in further unlocking additional courses and cars, especially if you want to try and get access to everything that's in the game. There will be elements that will frustrate the hell out of you. I'm not going to lie about that for a second. It will definitely test your patience. It's one of those games that will require severe dedication to access everything that it has to offer. But for those that can persist with it and that know what they're doing, will be able to achieve it to some degree, but not without a little bit of luck. I got so far in it and I just lost patience with it, so that in itself. But it is a game I would like to revisit, because I do think that I could potentially unlock stuff later on, but it's just not as straightforward as I'd like it to be. The progression system, where the difficulty ramps up, it just gets to a point that it goes from adequate to extremely difficult almost straight away, and that's the difference, and it can completely throw you off, and that's what can cause a lot of trouble and confusion for you further down the line. But some of the positives, especially with the likes of the customization modes, where you can unlock additional features to customize your car, give it certain attributes for speed, you can improve the aerodynamics, the downforce elements of the car, you can even customize and mold and shape the body parts and panels to make a customized supercar to your own preference. So that is definitely a really cool feature, which you don't often see in games at that time. While it has some nice features, it does have some inherent inherent flaws, and unfortunately it probably won't be for everybody, but it will appeal to a certain few out there if you can manage to deal with many of the game's shortcomings. It does have some solid elements, but it's just, it is difficult. There's no ifs or buts about it in all respects to it. But regardless, I would love to know your thoughts of Supercar Street Challenge for the PlayStation if you have played this unusual game, and what do you think of it overall? Did you find it enjoyable, or did you find it frustrating as hell? So I'd love to hear whatever story you do have of the game, so be sure to share it down in the comments below. And if you would like to see more videos around other unusual and quirky type races similar to this that were also released on the PS2, and you can leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and also check out this playlist on screen to see more of those games in action. And I will see you all in the next one.